Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome to another session full of content. We're gonna demonstrate today the new capabilities of InfraWorks 2022. A couple of things first. We're gonna be recording this webinar, so we'll make it available in our YouTube channel, so you can download it, review, or share with your colleagues. One thing first, let's go with our presenters today. Well, first we're gonna have Dave Hill. Dave Hill has more than 25 years of experience in civil engineering consulting. In his current role, he provides consulting, implementation, training, and support services. He's an Autodesk certified implementation expert and a trainer who specializes in the use of AutoCAD Civil 3D to complex design, transportation, and land development projects. And we also have today, Prem Joseph. Prem brings more than 20 years of combined experience focused on transportation, municipal engineering, and land development. He is also the founder and advocate of the Ontario Groundbreakers user group. He's the main spokesperson and various speaking engagement, including Autodesk University and Autodesk User Group International. Now let's move with the agenda. So we're gonna do a quick introduction. Then we're gonna move to the actual content on what's new in InfraWorks 2022. And we'll finish up with a Q&A session. We'd love to hear from you, so please post your questions in the Q&A panel. So I just wanna go over our training calendar for the next coming weeks. So we have InfraWorks Fundamentals next week on the 16th. We have also Civil 3D SSA, storm sanitary analysis, starting on June 17. We have Civil 3D grading on 21st, fundamentals on the 22nd, and now getting into July, we're gonna have a session for Civil 3D for transportation design, and Civil 3D for surveyors August 18. If you wanna look at the complete list, please click on the link or follow the hyperlink at the bottom, solidcad.ca/training. Now, upcoming events. So we have a couple of interesting events coming up. First one is the continuation of Cafe Bluebeam, followed by 30 ways to automate labeling with Civil 3D Label Genie. That's in June 16. And then one of my favorite topics, Civil 3D pipe networks on steroids, July 14. So please go to our website, solidcad.ca, event landing, and register for this complimentary events. Now, let's hand it over to Dave. Let's get the party started.
Thanks, Ed. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Had a little bit of a hiccup there, technology-wise. So I think we're ready to go. So I'm just going to take over the screen here for a minute, and we'll blast away. So bear with me for a second while we.
Yeah, I'm gonna be running a poll while you get ready. So let me see, I'm gonna be launching now. So really quick, just 2 questions to understand better how you're using InfraWorks and if you're actually using it at all. Okay, we have a couple of answers. Well, a couple of people left, so let's give them 1 more minute. Okay. 10 more seconds and we should be good. Awesome. Okay, so we're done with the poll. Dave, you can continue with your showcase.
Okay, that's great. So we'll just close that out and we'll close this one. Hopefully you can see my introductory screen as to our agenda. So new features. Can we all see that one? Okay. Yeah. So welcome to the InfraWorks 2022 world. There's been a few enhancements, but as you know, InfraWorks gets a lion's share of development over the year. So there was a fairly significant release a little while ago. Had some really powerful features added to it in the way of increasing, you know, frame level of detail on the bridges and working with a more refined bridge analysis function, component road enhancements, things like that. But in the 2022 release, we're looking at more vegetation, just what everybody needed, right? Lots more trees and ground cover, things like that. So there was some enhancements there. We'll go through that very briefly. There's also the decorations. So linear road decorations, you can add those now. You can essentially link them, and there's no regeneration of the model. So we're going to take a quick view of that one. On the bridge modeling, there has been an addition where we can now model the girders in InfraWorks. So you get more complex girder creation, if you will. Before it was kind of 2D with extruded bridges and working that into it. Now you can do the girders in Inventor and export them out and then bring them into InfraWorks, so you can use them in there and really get a kind of a much more enhanced bridge if you're into the bridge design. And then there was also a model builder update as well. So the user interface for the model builder has been enhanced to get give you some more functionality in there. So I'm going to run this kind of little quick video here at the bottom just to kind of give us a bit of a tour. It should take a few minutes, and I'll give you the details as we go. Some of you may have seen some of this video before, but we've kind of streamlined it up. So this first portion here, we're going to just talk a little bit about the vegetation. You know that we've got a lot of work where we can bring in different ground cover in different areas, and you know, generally as you zoom in closer, you start to see a lot more detail, obviously, from the cover. One of the challenges was the amount of different types of cover that we had. So I'll speed it up here just a little bit as we can get going. So, you've got that manicured grass and other different kinds of cover that are localized, but now with the addition of some more vegetation, we just open this up and its functionality is the same. We just go to the stand of trees, which is an area of whatever vegetation we want. There's a lot of different and new appropriate cover. We're going to use the dandelion one because that's the way my lawn looks right now. We'll just do an area, and the techniques are all the same. So we'll just put in a field of weeds, if you will. So when you zoom in, you get the few bits of ground cover showing up. The density switch is similar as in the past. You can lower it or increase it up to whatever you want. And the same goes for the ease of manipulating each individual one. So if you want those giant mutant weeds, you can have those in there as well. So there's been about 30 new additions to the vegetation side of it. So that was one of the enhancements that people have been asking for, so they decided to kind of move that forward. We'll take a look here at the next enhancement, which is the decorations, the linear decorations, and we love to use the canyon project, right? This is the canyon with the Colorado River going down through it, and we've got component roads that snake through the canyon. There's some tunnels. It's quite a interesting little road and great for showing some unique techniques on adding different features. So when you select the roadway now, you can see that get your alignments on the edges of the component roads. So in the past, when we added decorations, and we'll use an example on this one of a concrete barrier. When we use this example, they're going to come in the default locations just the way they kind of always did, right? You're going to put them along the line. If you select one of those alignments, so we'll do the outside edges and then we'll do down the middle. And the default setup is pretty much always coming in at for these barriers 90 degrees from what we expect. So the technique to adjust these is essentially the same. When you pick on that alignment, you'll get the card, the asset card or the properties card or whatever the name is this week of it, and we'll rotate those 90 degrees to get them in line with the linear part of the roadway. And then we'll also adjust the spacing. But something you'll notice, and I know in this video we're working in imperial, but we'll adjust it about 12 feet. There'll still be a little bit of a gap between them, and then we can tighten it up to about 10 feet. But one thing, and it's important to notice here, is in the past, in earlier versions, this kind of workflow, manipulating these barriers, these linear decorations, would cause the model to regenerate. And that's not the case now, right? So you'll notice nothing's flipping to the tile screen, right? It's all looking like, just like we expect it to be. So we want to make sure that you're, aware that these are the new techniques that we have to do this, right? So just make sure that we're all aware that this is really going to enhance the performance of it. We can also change the start station. You'll see right now we'll just kind of start the end of the barriers at a different location, and this also would have caused us to regenerate the model every time. So every one of these picks or adjustments would have taken us a few more seconds to regen. So now we're in a much better kind of performance shape for this kind of implementation here. So when you get it implemented, you can do these linear decorations and you won't be waiting for it to regenerate all the time. So I'll move it along a little bit here. You can see we flip the ones in the center, and you can change the direction as well, and just give you an idea of the time savings that you can resolve. So now I'll just move it into the 3D girders. We can now use the girders in an Inventor. You can create them in Inventor and then put them out into a file such that you can import them directly into Civil 3D into InfraWorks and build them. So previously those girders, they were based on 2D sketches, right? And then you would extrude them, bring them in, and now we're working with full 3D parametric kind of information from within Inventor. So we'll just kind of take a quick look at Inventor here when someone is going to be drawing these girders or creating these girders. We're directly in Inventor here. You'll see now in a moment, we'll just kind of move along and look at the connection point or the end of the girder, and then you can see the different controls in there that you can work with. So it's a pretty high level view right now. I'm not a Inventor guy by any means, so we'll just kind of describe how it's happening. I'll just move it along here a little bit. So all these end treatments, we have all our different planes and our parametric sizes. We can take a look at what we need to do, and by manipulating the girder sweep and the ends of parts, we can have multiple different kind of conditions that we can address. So if you're into working with bridges, or you have a team of bridge designers that need these kind of functions and bring it in, you can do this 2D sketch right here. You can see all the parameters added, and that's going to take us right out to the finished sketch, which again, you can see from the areas being highlighted on the part. You can add pieces, you can cut away, you can extrude, you can do multiple different kind of flanges. You can look at all the different components in there on the girder, and it's going to make your life so much easier now that you can work with the long girders as well for any kind of really complex design. So once you get your girders done, you want to bring them into InfraWorks, you just go back to your Manage tab and go into the Content Manager, open up the library for the bridges and the girders, open that up, grab the IPT file, which is the inventor file that you just created of the girder. You just open that up. You have to tell it, of course, that it's a bridge, right? So, and what kind of component it is. And because it's a 3D girder, because you just built an inventor, we put it under that category. And now the next kind of thing to do is you want to change this from more of a I guess an integer value into a list value. So you kind of toggle it from integer to a table so you can simplify the selection, right? So here we'll just toggle that, and now you can grab the different pieces or toggle the tooltips on or off. You got all kinds of control once you're in InfraWorks here. So, you know, this is a fairly compressed workflow once you're in InfraWorks. You do have to build the girder in Inventor, but once you have it in there, you're in good shape to pull it in directly. It'll show up under that style palette. And then if we hide the bridge, and you can select the girder that's in there now, if you wanted to change the component up, you just decide which component you want to use, grab the one that you are working with, and it's going to be the one that gets swapped out, and you're going to see the new component. So if you want to toggle off or change the segment length, you can see it when we toggle off that cut that we had put in the girder. So you can have kind of full control over these complex girders now that are created in Inventor. So it goes along with kind of the original configuration of being able to do you know, let's call them abutments and some piers that you could do in Inventor previously, but you couldn't do the girders to the same degree, and now you can. So that's really some of the things that were in the new release, as well as, and let's just kind of go to the next one here. I'll just go to the model builder, and I'm going to leave the screen here for a second. I have InfraWorks installed on my, or not installed. I have InfraWorks here working on my system. The model builder, when you select the model builder from the panel on the left, you'll notice it's slightly different looking. So we've got the same screen, we've got a little slightly different dialog box or toolbar at the top. We still have our current map extent, the selection tools. I'll just zoom into an area, somewhere up in the top section here. You can see
we're looking at the recording. It's paused right now.
Oh, is it? Okay. My apologies. Let's see what's going on here. All right. Still looking at the recording? Okay. Seem to have lost my controls here for a second. Just going to reshare it. Okay. So I'm going to just open up.
Now we're looking at, yeah.
Okay, now we're looking at InfraWorks. Yeah. Okay.
Awesome.
All right. So we're back to InfraWorks. Sorry about that. The new interface, of course, updated a couple of releases ago, and now we've got the new model builder. So let me click on the model builder. You can see it's a different interface here. We still have our location search option, just basically in a toolbar fashion now. We've still got our selection tools. I will zoom into a little area somewhere up in the, well, let's go up here around Lake Scugog. You'll notice in the bottom section here, we've got some notifications telling me the area is too large. That's a slightly different approach to what we have. I'm just going to pan down. I'll zoom into a different area here. Let's just say we want to come in around oh, I don't know, somewhere here. Yeah, I think this would do. And from this particular approach, you've got now the option for the model name. So we'll put it in, we'll call this June 8 IW sample. And an option right now to select the coordinate system right out of the gate. So if you're not sure, use LL84. Okay, if you're working in a conceptual approach, then that's probably a good idea. If you're going to dump it into InfraWorks, from InfraWorks into Civil 3D right away, you probably want to get your coordinate system straightened out right out of the gate. So if you decide that you want to set a coordinates, pick the option to select the coordinate system. It'll display on the screen. You can then decide which one you want. This one actually is in this area, UTM 83-17, and I'm going to set that for my coordinate system. You can see it's populated here. And if you wanted to grab the, the area that we're going to work in, you can use the rectangle option. You can choose the location. You can see it tells you roughly what area you're in. If you wanted to stretch it or adjust it, controls are fairly similar to what we had in the past. You can then say create model, and you'll get that message that it's going to take a few minutes and you'll be notified. So that kind of covers the interface portion. Now, I know that you have always the interest in taking this to Civil 3D, right? So I'd already done this once just to kind of make sure that we had an area set up. Here it is identified here, SC Developments, UTM N7, and there's the location. So it came in, just didn't want you to wait while it came in. Might have been 5 minutes, might have been 10 minutes. So there's that development area brought in through InfraWorks. And great looking image. We've got terrain involved in there. If we pick our data source, you can see the list of information right here. And if we want to take this to Civil 3D, and I have Civil 3D open in this area, for me, you just open up Civil 3D. We do need to close the InfraWorks model we're working in, right? So we'll go to Civil 3D. We will go to the Insert tab. You're going to go to the section here, open InfraWorks model, and we'll select that one. And you'll be prompted for the InfraWorks model that you want to bring in. Once you hit browse, it's going to bury it. If you're going with InfraWorks, way down in your documents folder under that code, there's my file that came in or was created for my InfraWorks model. As soon as I select that, you'll notice the path is set, and we always will get this set a coordinate system button. And when you choose that button, you'll get the options for the model coordinate system from InfraWorks. You'll get to set the coordinate system within Civil 3D, and you can use a coordinate system as well. But again, you want to make sure that it's the right one. I know that the one I selected in InfraWorks was correct, so I'm going to use that model, and eventually it'll pop back up and tell me that that's the one I want. Try it again. It'll generate this information here, but again, I've been having some challenges with my connection today. All right, well, let's go right into the Civil 3D access. So UTM 83 dash N UTM 83 dash 17, and we'll say okay, and then let's see, now we're getting that other error. Let's see if we can get the InfraWorks one. Okay, well, this one is not going to happen for me today, so let's bring in the other one. There's my InfraWorks model. When I bring it in, I've turned off the surface, and just to show you what the different surfaces look like, my existing ground surface, which came from the InfraWorks terrain, is going to be a little bit rough. There's the area, and there's my existing transportation surface, which is generated from the road configuration in InfraWorks. So there's the road work, and I had a little project that was just waiting to be added to the site. So we brought that in, dropped that into the location, and built some some corridors, some profiles, some things like that from it. So that was kind of the configuration for that project to bring it in. And then from the project here, once we go back into InfraWorks, if I set a new proposal, and I'll just create a new proposal here, and we'll just call it June 8th. And we'll use this one, and we'll bring in that Civil 3D drawing using our import method here. So Autodesk Civil 3D DWG, and there's been some significant enhancements here for this option of bringing in data. So we'll bring in the drawing from the developments plan that I created with the corridor. The corridor has been developed for the two roads. There's been some surfaces. And now that I'm bringing in the Civil 3D data, you can identify that we've got this information here coming in from that drawing. So this is all the Civil 3D objects that are in that drawing. So if I want to bring them in, you leave it checked. I don't need to bring in the InfraWorks information. I already have that, but I can bring in the other information that was created when we imported Civil 3D objects. So if I'll say okay, they populate, and if I right click on the development section here under the coverage areas, you can see I just have to configure. I can also go to the roads. If I click on that one, go to configure. There's my information. I can just close and refresh, and the information should populate. Under the uncategorized surfaces section. So I'll pick that, and there is the first piece of the road. So you can see it's came in based on the corridor information, cross section, there's some sidewalks. It's a component road. You can see I can look at editing it as well within InfraWorks, and by selecting the objects or the components in the drawing, there's the boulevard. I get my card showing the different pieces of the boulevard, and we also have a component mapping option here now where we can go in and map the different pieces being pulled from the objects in Civil 3D, which are now recognized in InfraWorks. And you could say, well, you know what, I want to add, you know, a different component in here, maybe from the sub-assemblies. You can see by just clicking on it, you can put in a different value. I have a sidewalk in here. You could type, you know, left sidewalk if you prefer. All of these things you can add, you know, at your convenience or requirement to enhance how this is going to look. So if you had left sidewalk and you decided you needed to show it slightly differently, you can say, okay, well, I want that one to look not like a material. I want to make it look like a sidewalk, and you can pick the one that you want to apply. So if we say we're going to run the rules, if I've selected that or included that information in, you can see it's updating. So there's my left sidewalk being shown, and I happen to turn the boulevards red, but you get the idea. You can make any of the components match up with the different object shapes, links, and points from Civil 3D. So there's a pretty easy way to move that. If you do go back into Civil 3D and make any adjustments, we are linked now, so, or still are linked, so we can click inside. You can grab the object that you want to adjust or has been adjusted and just pick re-import, and it'll bring that information back in. So the connection between Civil 3D and InfraWorks is there and stronger than ever. So by all means, take the opportunity to pull those things together. Do a good job of doing the work in Civil 3D, and what's going to come across in InfraWorks is going to really enhance the visualizations that you can create. So I'm just going to close that out, and I'm going to come back to my PowerPoint here, and that's it for the new features that we wanted to show for today. So back over to you, Said. I know Prem's here. I didn't hear him chime in on anything, so everything must be okay. So.
It went good, and I just wanted to add one little item here. Every time you bring a model into InfraWorks, especially if you're coming out from Revit, it is going to check the versions. So if you are using the 2022 version of InfraWorks, it is preferring the same version of Revit model coming into the interface. Some of the times you may get a warning sign, and otherwise it won't even load it. So keep that in mind. Civil 3D is okay comparing with the DWG file formats. It's okay dealing with the older file formats and data, but it's critical for Revit models when you bring those things into 2022. That's all from me for now.
Great. Thanks for sharing that Prem. I thought maybe let's invite the participants to post their questions. We have a little bit of time, so we can even go with a quick demo if possible, if the question that's relevant enough. So please go ahead and post your questions or comments in the Q&A section. Give the attendees a couple of minutes to think about their issues with that InfraWorks.
So just one more thing to add for the attendees here. The feature Dave Hill showed about the road mapping, all the properties based on colors. It's an amazing tool. Take advantage of it. We have a number of customers customize their mapping format based on the colors and realistic representation of the actual roadways, and they go for the presentation. So once you build that mapping, you could export it and reuse it, or with the different scenarios, different types of roads. It is a really helpful tool for matching the roadways, road components when you get that from Civil 3D into InfraWorks. Please take advantage of that if you're in the roadway design or presentations. It's a good tool. Thank you.
Yeah, you may notice as I'm working through this, my sub-assemblies are being shown. All the details are in the lower right corner. I do have some custom names just so I can identify them a little bit easier down in the lower section here where I have them identified as, you know, slope to surface right is 1. If I was to pick on the sidewalk, you can see it's identified as right sidewalk. If I was to pick on the lane, you can see it's identified, the shape code is pave 1, the link code is pave 1. So you can create a lot of these and you can manually override them. So if you pick one of them, you can come over to the panel rather than component mapping. If it's going to be just a kind of a one-off, you can click on the template and say, okay, you know what, I want to make this something slightly different. It's going to be a concrete road, and it'll update accordingly. So the component mapping is a great tool. Set it up. Once you bring in Civil 3D, you can see how it's going to adjust pretty much everything on the fly for you. So please kind of consider that.
And also just to add on to that, if you want a really flexible and complex scenarios there, the best way in Civil 3D to manage the data with multiple regions. So each region will appear as a piece to select or selectable in the InfraWorks. So you can go into really good controls in that way too along the same roadway. Okay, so there are a number of little tips and tricks you can use when you do this data import or connect with InfraWorks.
Okay, so I don't see any questions, Saeed. So
no, we don't have any questions. So I guess we're gonna call it a day. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Frank, for your valuable content, and thank you everybody for joining us today. Just a reminder that we're gonna be posting this on our YouTube channel, so please take a visit. We have a lot of really nice content there. So thanks again, and have a nice rest of the day.